Very well.
Ghana. Thank you.
You were in Commonwealth Hall at the University of Ghana, weren't you?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I even was a member of the football team.
Yes.
Yes.
No, the choir sang to support the team. And you have also, you've worked with Aztec Fruits as a quality assurance manager, production manager, and assistant production manager at Aztec. Is that right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's correct.
Your degree was in what? Your first degree?
My first degree was in biochemistry and food science.
Chemistry and food science. So can you tell us what happened to Aztec?
Mr. Chairman, I joined Aztec in 1993, and we had started with the new machine called TBA machine. We were producing 24 hours. In fact, we start Monday morning, do CIP in the Wednesday, and continue 24 hours. We had an opportunity to export to Libya because Ghana and Libya had a bilateral relationship by then when Libya, Ghana owned Libya for some amount of oil that was given to Ghana, and it was one of those bilateral opportunity to export to Libya so we can be paid from there. At a point, I think there was a problem in some payment issue that did not allow us to meet our obligation in paying for the machines that we took. We have taken a crushing machine from Italy for pineapple. We have expanded the concentrate unit. We had expanded the packaging and product unit with Tetra Pak and Alpha Laval system. And therefore, I think that was one problem that could not be solved, and that brought the problem to Aztec.
Very well. Yes. Ni, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm happy that just mentioning me has drawn the nominee to take some water. He's my very good friend and brother. No, I'm a Viking. I couldn't have been a Vandal. She was my roommate. And the same 111 and SB 111. Yeah, Moses. The premix sector has faced a lot of problems. A lot of problems. Diversion, shortages, misappropriation. It's made it difficult that even the main reason why government subsidizes the premix for the fishermen and the landing communities and beaches to have the opportunity of getting some resource in order to help themselves, create wealth for themselves. It's missed because we have Shylocks and syndicates in the premix sector now. What are you going to do to support your minister to streamline the operations of the premix sector in order for the fishermen to benefit from the objective of government in subsidizing and making available to the fishermen the fuel for their business?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe there are some gains that have been chalked so far. I think the situation is not a situation that we can throw our hands in the air. Already there was this identification of diversion. The tracking system was used to at least to reduce that challenge. At a point, the problem came to the landing site. Now we've done the canoe identification for the marine side. We also have done the canoe, we're trying to put in the canoe identification card with the barcode. A barcode system where you could have a quota for the registered industrial players, so that at least they will have a landing site where there's a filling station. Then you go with your quota. If you exhaust it, that will be it. The other challenge is the hoarding. And I think that when we get there together with all the major stakeholders and relevant agencies, we should all come together and find a nice way, making sure that we can solve the problem. Because you see, when you look at the budget, the budget even put 2021 budget put it that 2020 government released 101.7 million liters of premix. So what should be the complaint? It means that the issue that we are raising is very critical. And I think that together, when we get there, our assistant minister, where we've reached, we have to consolidate and then see how best we can avoid the hoarding as well.
Another basic problem on the fishing industry is transshipment, which is causing Ghana to lose a lot of revenue and also virtually killing our poor fishermen. What will you be doing, or what do you think we should be doing in order to arrest the incidence of transshipment? And what do you think we should do to assist our poor fishermen to get maximum from their effort and prevent these foreign vessels from flooding our waters?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will assist my minister to establish zero tolerance for transshipment. And we can do that through the relevant agencies, application of the laws, implementation of the laws. And then also, we really have to beef up the monitoring and control surveillance system. As I speak to you, we are upgrading the vessel monitoring system, and we're trying to link up with a local data center that will be hosted by NITA, so we can use that system to as a surveillance means, and also automate, so we can easily detect what is happening on the high seas. Mr. Chairman, also the co-management policy that government last year approved and gazetted will mean we need to include all stakeholders in making sure we can solicit voluntary compliance. Voluntary compliance is very key in this enterprise. And I will assist my minister because I speak 4 local languages. You know, our coastal line span along 4 regions. Our inland subsector also spreads within the entire country. And with this engagement that we have to do, and with
Chairman, just a low one. Why? Fish, they are interested in linguistics. You are emphasizing 4 languages. Whereas fish, they understand languages. And the harvesting of fish. What has the 4 languages got to do? You want to explain that?
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, maybe on the lighter note, my honorable minority leader, if he contributes to my staying here for a long time, his debts will increase and be escalated. He knows that. Covered also. Mr. Chairman, the co-management system has to involve a broader-based consultation and engagement. And that is where the language power will work. When we are engaging our own people for our local dialects, it helped them to appreciate and understand the issues better.
Chairman, if you just allowed me, on your CV, come to work experience, I think it's paid to Chairman with your indulgence, oh, not woman, just for him to indulge Chairman and correct it. One, the start-off date and the cut-off date, because you are whip, so your record must reflect same. You just say January 2017 to January 21, then January 2021 to date. January 6th was the 7th Parliament, and then 7th would have commenced the 8th Parliament. So, 6th Chairman, and then rectify that up to leadership positions held, just for purpose of our record. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will do accordingly.
And Chairman, if I'm still there as you identify who comes in, mine is personal. Temperament and its management is part of what learning from the U.S. Congress and other jurisdictions when we are undertaking the scrutiny. Apart from your intellectual standing and knowledge of the deaf, you are senior, Howard Kumson, your minister, you are whip, leader, and then intellectually you have deaf. How are you going to manage the relationship?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Superior tense, inferior tense. How are you going to manage it?
Mr. Chairman, I earlier said I have the skill to work with people and through people with humility and respect. I'm a team player. I have that humility to work with people. For me, it's for God and country. It's not about differences in knowledge and personality. I believe strongly in doing the right things regardless, so long as it is for Mother Ghana.
She assured that you give her utmost respect as minister. You say I'm former leader and former whip.
I pledge before you and that of the entire nation to assist my minister to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Zera.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Honorable Nominee, and congratulations on your nomination. Honorable Nominee, I'll take my first question from where my colleague and senior Neil Antivanderpoy ended, the issue of Premix. The situation, as I will say to you from experience, is beginning to look like a hopeless one. And I say this in the sense that apart from the premix being available, its distribution is occasioned with a lot of partisan considerations. You have to be a member of the New Patriotic Party to be able to be addressed as the one who receives and who is in charge of the premix distribution. The fisher folks are complaining that because of this partisan outlook, the premix ends up in the hands of people who are not necessarily fishermen or fisherwomen. And I find it very interesting that for the subsidies that government provides, the value in a way, because the sale of the premix, and I speak for my constituency, the Salaga South constituency, is occasioned with a lot of kalabule. Mr. Chairman, forgive me to have to use this word today. On the 4th of June, that occasioned is the 42nd anniversary of the June 4th, house cleaning. That was aimed at eliminating kalabule and its other ills of society. In this age, there's kalabule existing, in that the fisher folks are supposed to buy the premix at 55 cedis per gallon. Now, it gets sold to them at between 120 and 130 cedis. The argument is that by the time the fisherman gets on the river on his fishing expedition, somebody sitting comfortably at home has already taken his profit. So he goes to work and he works for nothing. The other side of this premix issue is that for these fisher folks who reside on the banks of the Volta Lake, most of them don't have health facilities. So when they have to attend hospital, they have to cross the river. In my constituency, they have to cross from Salaga South to Pru East, Honorable Kwabena Donko's constituency, to attend antenatal, for deliveries. And when this happens, sometimes, you know, women, I'm sure my sisters here will tell you, we tend to have our delivery symptoms late in the night. They have to go and find the outboard motor, carry the woman in labor across the river to Yeji to enable her. So apart from using it for fishing, it also serves other services for the household. Now, when the price is so exorbitant and they cannot even access it, it makes their whole life very difficult to manage. Mr. Nominee, please, what would you do? What will you do in concert with your substantive minister to ensure that the premix, as government has determined, gets to the user? It should get to the fisherman. It should get to them at 55 cedis per gallon and not even 60 cedis, so that they can also do what they have to do, get a little profit to enable them take care of their households. Can we get that assurance, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I give that assurance. And as I said earlier, the encouragement of the fisher folks to register their canoe and get the canoe identification done. The marine one was done. We have about 14,000 registered canoe so far. This year want to do the Volta Lake as well by the budget. So let's encourage them to register, and let's encourage them to get some of the things that can really reduce whatever, the challenges that we find ourselves. And what you've also narrated now, we'll take it on board, and when we get there, hopefully by your approval, we'll also engage as much as we can to see how best we can solve the problem.
Chairman, let me just come in one. Honours Vera, indulge me. Chairman, I must lead by example. The word inferior be substituted for superior subordinate relationship, and the record inferior be expunged. I owe my colleague, the MP Minister, that respect. I thank you. So record to take care of it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My second question is still to do with my fisher folks. After they've harvested fish from the river, they have difficulties in storing the fish to keep them fresh so that they can process them in whatever other way they want before it gets to the market. One of the challenges, again, is a lack of electricity along this stretch of the Volta Lake. What will you do if we give you the nod to ensure that these communities are linked to the rural electrification programs and they get the needed electricity so that they can preserve the fish and process it in good time?
Thank you very much. That, Mr. Chairman, that will require continuous engagement with the relevant agency. I believe it is in that spirit why this co-management approach policy is being adopted now. Hopefully when it is rolled out by the second quarter of this year, which has been envisaged, because there's a pilot going on at Adan and Cobra and Densu and the Pra and the Pra estuaries. So the outcome will mean that we have to engage, and that is where we will be able to identify most of these problems we are talking about. And linking with the agency, the Ministry of Energy and all that, all of the relevant agencies, we need to play a role in this, and we'll solicit the necessary needed support from the other agencies.
Thank you. My final question. On your CV, residential address is GPS GW 0510956 Abensu, near the Assemblies of God Church. On the morning that we wake up and the Assemblies of God Church has relocated, how will you direct us to your residence?
My stay in the constituency. I stay at Abensu. There's no street name, and therefore the GPS is my place of identification. The Assemblies of Church is also a permanent structure, and if they will move, it will be a local church.
She fears that they can move.
No, it's a permanent structure, Mr. Chairman. It's a permanent structure. If they are moving, they will still have a local, and they have a mission house as well attached to.
Honorable
Thank
Obiamia,
you.
or Abu, I'm sure you've taken note. Street naming is incomplete. Wish you well. Please assist my sister, Honorable Howard Kumsen, and let's reap the benefits. Thank you.
Yes, I'm a part.
Right. Thank you, Honorable Chair. Congratulations, our leader.
Thank you.
Your offer is waiting for you. So, offer is in place now. I hope you understand what.
I understand.
Thank you. Honorable nominee, for some time now, we've noted that investors into aquaculture are always frustrated by the multiple number of permits required to undertake the venture and the length of time taken to acquire them. Given the note, how are you going to assist the minister to reduce the processes and the time taken to acquire this venture, since we are all aware that we have challenges with the fishing deficit in the country? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I believe strongly that it's part of this reason why we will put up a one-stop shop of an act, the Company Act. It's one reason why we put up that one-stop shop for Company Act, to see how best we can reduce the timing. I hope that in application of the content of the Act, we should be able to reduce this time wasting and also facilitate to the best of our ability what we can do to assist them. For now, I know you register your company. You try to pick a EPA. If you really want to do a cage in the riverine, you register with EPA. You register with Water Research Institute. Register with them, and I believe that if you give me the nod and I get there, we'll team up with the minister and see how we can facilitate some of this. If possible, we need to get a desk for special desks to facilitate for the investors to do that, because the aquaculture is a private sector-led area, and we need to do all the enabling environment for them to be able to put their money in there and also expand. And it's one way of improving and making sure that the depletion that we have in the marine, the aquaculture in our riverines or in the cage system, is a assured fish. In fact, if you do it well and with all the biosecurity attached to it, it's a sure fish. So that is what we can easily do to increase our fish production and then augment the depletion that we have in the marine, whilst we're working on the stock of the marine as well, making sure that the three subsectors have a good standing so we can get more fish for Ghana.
Thank you. Honorable nominee, as a matter of interest, I want to find out if you have any idea of what happened when we woke up one day and found large species of dead fishes on our shores. I don't know if any investigation has been conducted and if there is a reason for that. If you can brief us on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I know there's investigation going on, and I wish to maybe wait for the outcome, but I know there's other reasons or causes being raised by other scientists, talking about temperature differentials, and as a result, oxygen deficiency causing fatigue and stress to those animals. That is one reason that is being bandied around anyway. But I know that when the investigation comes out, we'll be able to have a very good thumb on what exactly happened. To explain from a scientific point of view, if you have differentials in temperature, definitely the hot one will go down, the cold one comes up. And when the cold one comes up, we have a lot of algae coming up to the surface, and they will take more oxygen. And therefore, those aquatic animals that were swimming and met that current had that challenge. If that is found out to be the outcome of the investigation.
Thank you very much. I'm done.
They say if we ask you more questions, you give us all certificates. Yes, Honorable Gisela first. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable colleague, congratulations.
Thank you.
Let me call you honorable senior colleague. I'm actually particularly excited about your scientific background, that you would complement ably and capably, because with your scientific background of biochemistry and food science, you know that aquaculture and the fishery sector is scientific. And much as there's the politics behind the premix and so on and so forth, I'm hoping that you'll be able to use that knowledge to translate it into certain issues that are pressing as we speak. SDG 14 talks about life underwater, which I'm sure is going to be your mantra to make sure that life underwater is definitely improved, and as you just explained with the stress and all that sort of thing. But I just want to, I'm also excited in a way about your quality assurance background, that you've been in that sector also, within that space. So I just want to hope that you'd give a good compliment, you would compliment your minister appropriately to be able to address the issues of depletion of stocks, fishing stock, the pollution of the waters. I think there was a video going around recently, and all the fishermen got was more, they got more plastic bottles than fish. And that is the point, is a critical point where it should be enough is enough, and something has to be done about it. So aside from registering the boats, yes, registering the boats is important. If you register all the boats and there's no fish, what's going to happen? So I would plead that you do complement your scientific background very well with what actually has to happen to improve the livelihoods of fishermen so they can, get along with themselves. Secondly, I also see that you have worked in the construction sector for about 6 years or so as a project manager. Again, in another form of assault, and are working well, and also the fish stocks and the marine pollution that is existing now is also addressed. Do you give that assurance to us that by the end of 4 years, if you stay in the ministry for 4 years, at least you have something to account for and measurable?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, definitely, we should have something to account for. Where we are now, Mr. Chairman, we have to integrate scientific knowledge with practical experience, and that is very important. It's the reason why Cabinet has also approved the research vessel, because we need the research vessel to do a lot of research. In fact, if we want to replenish stock with that research, you can do it. You need a vessel to do a lot of research so that you can replenish the stock. You can look at areas within the marine zone where you can zone and all that. It's all based on research. So until we integrate scientific knowledge with practical experience, Mr. Chairman, and that is where we are moving now. so that we'll integrate that. And as you said, we'll link up strongly with the Ministry of Transport as well and find out. We'll come to your constituency to find out what are the deficits that are in there. So we see what we can do, because at the end of the day, the landing beaches by our laws, that will also assist avoiding this transshipment, because the law says that you need to land at the landing beach so you can declare, so we can prevent IUU fishing. If you don't put up a lot of the landing beaches, how do they land to declare, so that you can even take some scientific data as a primary source of information and feed it into whatever policy we're planning and how we're measuring our target. So it's very important, and we'll follow its suit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what innovation would you bring on board?
Well, we have the people in there. As I said, all we need is and work with them. The innovation we're bringing up in terms of the application of science, technology, and innovation, we have them. We just have to build a lot of resources for them. Recently, we're trying to employ a lot of the advert was put across, because at the regional and the zonal level, there's some deficit in human capacity and human resources, and therefore want to beef it up. But the innovation we am bringing on board is to assist my minister at the best as I can, as you said, with my scientific knowledge and the belief in research, that we need to do more research, and we need the capacity of our people, academia, all stakeholders. And I said that I believe in the principle of inclusion. We need to bring everybody on board, academia, everybody on board, integrate according to the co-management policy, and then we can get outcomes, desirable outcomes, really.
Yes, Honorable Jare.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable nominee, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ghana's fisheries contribute 4.5% to annual GDP and indirectly help the livelihood of about 2.2 million people. But this is a dip from 1993's 6%. How are you going to use fisheries to improve our GDP and also help create employment, especially among our young graduates? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for the fact that fishery contributes so much to the development of this country is known. It's really known. The challenge we have is the depletion, which is a global issue. So I want to look at it from the subsectors. If it is marine, the whole challenge we have is conservation, greater conservation, and sustainable management approaches. If we do that with the scientific blend, we will be able to replete. And we want to start with the close seasons, which started last year and all that. But as I said, you need a lot of scientific knowledge to be able to do that. So marine, that is it. Our riverine, we spread all over the country, and we need to concentrate on our riverine as well. And we started aquaculture for food and jobs. Last year, it contributed some amount. This year, we are targeting 50,000 metric tons by the budget that we're going to improve on it to all the 16 regions with the secondary schools, the military, and all that. So when we concentrate on the inland, including the aquaculture, we should be able to improve. And as I said, the aquaculture for me is a reality. You have a fish in hand. If you handle it well with all its biosecurity, make sure the vaccination that we did continues, the immunization that we're doing to make sure we are optimizing the economic benefit of the venture. At the end of the day, the person putting this amount of fingerlings, he knows that this is the outcome that we will get, because we have biosecurity in terms of health, in terms of physical security and all that. So when we do those things, continue to do those things, which has already been started. And also we need to develop our culturing structures. the hatcheries and then make sure they are viable and all that. And we need a more research work on the viability of those and the health of those ones. And the other challenge we are facing is the cost of fish meal, because the base commodity is what the human being also take, the maize and then the sorghum. And when you have that challenge, it becomes a very big challenge to get a price down to be able to get a fish meal at a price that will be viable and competitive. We need to look at that. Can we have a scientific research where we can have a commodity base that is not consumed by human being, a variety of a maize?
Publication here attributed to the Honorable Nominee on Ghana Web, and also by newsghana24.com. The publication was based on the website's monitoring of an interview that he gave to Kingdom FM 107.7. The host was Kwame Tutu on their program Anapa Nkomo. I hope I got that right. And in that said interview monitored by these websites and published, you said that the NDC is a political party that is aimless and has nothing good for Ghanaians. And its leader, John Mahama, was visionless and aimless as well. Mr. Chairman, does the nominee expect us, members of the NDC on this committee, to demonstrate our visionless and aimless attitude towards his approval or otherwise?
First, verify whether what is alleged to have said is correct. Yes, Honorable. It says you alleged, published, that you have said the statement. First, is that true? Before we all go on to the other one.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'm known to be someone who measures what I say. I don't remember ever saying that.
But if you do remember,
I don't remember, but if I'm made to remember, I will definitely apologize sincerely. But
so
I'm saying that I'm not the type who speak like that.
These were your words.
No, I'm not the type who speak like that, to be frank with you.
Honorable is a name. Do the honorable. I wish I could share this with you. You know, Chairman, I didn't know the meaning sincerely until I used it very wrongly and felt so bad on its usage. So you spoke Chi, you didn't speak Dagbani or the language Cherapon. The honorable saying is referring to you to it. You want to associate yourself with it? Or you regret them as one of those passing comments? Or you want to stand by them?
Thank you, Leader. Maybe just to help refresh the memory of the nominee,
Mr. Chair, just a moment.
I gave
just a moment.
The host of the program, the name of the
Mr.
host,
Chair.
the name of the program, the radio station, and the date.
Chair, with your leave, Honorable Anim, you may recall that you've made political statements of partisan in nature. You agree with me that you've made such statements before, especially on radio programs where you have opponents arguing on partisan lines. You recall such several comments by you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I've been on radio programs and with colleagues.
That being the case, it is possible you might have rebutted. You might have rebutted. And on the basis of his contention, there being a context, would you want to proceed by agreeing with his position that, well, if
in the course of rebuttals, you might have veered into a political statement. And if such existed, of which he's making reference particularly to what he said, let's know your reaction, especially when you are a reputation for candor in this house.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, as I said, I will apologize for utterances like that. Definitely, I will apologize for utterances like that. But I said I don't really remember I made it, but I apologize if really it did happen. I apologize sincerely. If really
Chairman, just his words. I will apologize. I apologize. Choose it carefully.
I apologize if it really happened.
Chair.
Well, I honestly didn't ask for an apology, but I will take one. I was just asking if you, what you would think of our, whether you think we should carry that aimlessness and viciousness towards your approval or otherwise. But, well, you choose to, take guidance from the leadership. So I'll move on to my next question. Honorable nominee, there has been reports, and verifiable so, by journalists who have done some investigations into how outboard motors, for example, are distributed. Some party leadership, especially at the constituency levels, have been caught selling some of these outboard motorbikes at exorbitant prices to farmers after getting access to those motorbikes through the political connections that they have at the ministry. What will you do to assist your minister to ensure that these outboard motorbikes are distributed transparently and made accessible to those who most need it?
Thank you very much. I come back to the co-management policy. There's some of these reasons why maybe in the wisdom of the president and cabinet, we should do this co-management thing, where we go down there, engage. The Fisheries Commission really have regional offices and zonal ones. We need to coordinate properly so we can identify the rare people who really need the outboard motors. And is the reason why the canoe registration exercise is also very important. It will inform into whatever we have to do to make sure we reach out to them.
Well, maybe one last one. I don't know if you followed the social media craze recently, which was aimed at naming and shaming members of parliament, especially in relation to projects that constituents believe that should be the responsibility of the members of parliament. I don't know if you followed it and what you think of it. A number of things actually were posted about you and your constituency, and I don't know what you think of it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not too much into social media. I must confess, I'm not too much into social media. I believe in working closely with my people in the constituency.
And Chairman, now, I want to quote, Ghana has been identified, I should albeit in time past, by the European Union of unsatisfactory practices with what it describes as illegal, unregulated fishing. And just to put the quote, the Commission stands for zero tolerance for IUU fishing. Ghana plays an important role in fisheries governance in West Africa. Therefore, we stand ready to work with Ghana to address the threats, illegal, unregulated fishing. What will you do with your minister to ensure that Ghana satisfies these basic minimum standards required by the European Union? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, as I earlier said, I will assist my minister so we can achieve the same zero tolerance for IUU fishing, the illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing. And it's all about the relevant agencies and all of us applying our acts, Act 625, as amended into 880, and its regulations in 1968, and as amended to 2217. If we do that, though, there's other school of thought. If you read the budget, trying to come out with a whole revision of the act, and it is all to ensure that it meets the emerging situations of international conservations and sustainable management of our obligations. Because we have entered into new treaties and conventions, and we need to do that. In fact, the yellow card is a formal warning of the EU to its trading partners for.
Well, Chairman, the nominee has captured my word. So the EU, in threatening issuing Ghana a yellow card, had this to say: the Commission noted that illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is jeopardizing the very foundation of the Common Fishery Policy, CFP, and the EU's international effort to promote better ocean governance. What plans do you have for improved ocean governance in assisting your minister? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, it's all about improving on our monitoring, control, and surveillance. As we speak, and
Chairman, it appears that the nominee have read this report extensively, because my next paragraph will be: the Commission also made mention of deficiencies in the monitoring, control, and surveillance of the fleet and a legal framework. The legal framework, what will you do with your minister to address it? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If you read the budget, it's even there that we're coming out with a more revised, robust act. And to add that, we really need the research vessel. We also know that Cabinet has approved a four boats, that is patrol boats.
Community who don't understand this cultural
Mr.
activities.
Chairman,
Thank you, Chairman.
it's all about getting the reportings done well and engaging the international community on some of these matters. I come from a very humble home, and I know that definitely in sustaining the livelihood of the family, all of us will have to do that. But I was not exploited, and parents make sure I go to school. That is the line. The line that the child is not denied of his right and is not engaged in any dangerous activity should be the line. Yet, we still have to work, do more advocacy, and let them understand. And that is exactly what we did, that we were able to move away from being classified as Tier 2 watch list in terms of human trafficking to Tier 2. The advocacy were done, whatever we're doing in terms of the legal regime, and whatever we're doing in terms of getting judgment on trials.
Thank you, Chairman. There is reported by researchers that the country's fisheries sector employs about 20% of the active labor force of Ghana, 2.7 million people, and industrial and artisanal fishing vessels competing with others. I'm a fan of salmon fish. There are those who like the Kobe and those who want more money. What are we going to do value addition to our fish products in order that the fisher folks can be assured of some value of what they do? Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Chairman, value addition is very important. It's part of post-harvest handling approaches, and therefore we will need to create an enabling environment, because one area that we need is a private sector led. So we need to create an enabling environment, which successive government has also.
Chairman, I'm ending, but mine is another cultural issue. The Ga fisher folks, once upon a time, once in a while, they are told by you people exercising state authority that you are banning fishing. No communication, no relationship with them, no guidance, yet you know their livelihood depends on it. So I move beyond just Ga, but to persons whose livelihood is affected by those unplanned announcements. What will you do to assist your minister to respond to it?
I will encourage my minister for us to do a lot of engagement. And Mr. Chairman, when we roll out the co-management policy, the new act or the new bill that is coming is supposed to establish a legal regime and enforce the practice of co-management, where you have no option. You must have all the records of your engagement with the people, and timeously and timely you need to engage the people to inform them, because you want their buy-in. In fact, if you don't get their buy-in, their voluntary compliance, you will not achieve it. Because look at a 550-kilometer stretch of the coastline. Look at the Volta Lake alone. It's about 1,600 kilometers. How are you going to enforce your regulation without voluntary compliance? So you need engagement. So I will support my minister's system to do more engagement.
As you walk to the ministry, I'm sure the committee will take a decision on it. But you recall that late President Mills, when he visited China and returned back, with then the pledge of 3 billion financing pledge coming from the Chinese government, apart from the project on improve the traffic situation in the country, he was particular about the landing sites, Discovery, I hope I got it right, Mountford, Axim, and others. I know that the ministry, through the Ministry of Transport, has come to Parliament for some parliamentary approval. I know you are understating. You have an idea, and was a promise that would see to look at when President Mills was president, may he rest in perfect peace. Up till now, that dream have not been realized. What will you do to assist your minister for the full realization of the completion of the landing sites? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, by the grace of God, if you get me there, I will link up strongly with my minister. What are some of the deficiencies? We will look at them. We know that we will have your support as well as Parliament, and we should be able to put those landing beaches there. Because I said that, look, it's part of the reason why, if we really want to prevent transshipment, the law is that land at the landing beach and declare with your logbook and everything, what's bycatch that you've done, the red catch that you've done, are you a bottom dweller licensed vessel, or you are inshore licensed vessel? We can only check all those things at the landing beach. For the sort of species that you are bringing out, will let us know whether you did inshore or you did bottom dwelling catching. So it's very important, and we all have to put our shoulder to the wheel and get it done. I'll assist as best to my ability.
Chama, I see the Honorable Braku solidly behind his friend. I tease him most of the time that Nick Abekosu because we are campaigning to build a church for him, and that's what escalates the cost. I leave it there as a former colleague in leadership, since I don't want him to start the church building for associated costs. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Honorable former leader. We thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions. I have no question for you. You will hear from us later, but for now you're discharged.
I remain extremely grateful to the committee, Mr. Chairman. I thank you so much.